It's been 11 years since Team Ico's last game, the critically acclaimed Shadow of the Colossus, and nearly 8 years since they announced their follow-up, The Last Guardian. But it's finally here. So, is it worth it? Let's find out. Gorgeous, touching, troubled. The Last Guardian is a beautifully crafted fairy tale centered around the bond between humans and nature, the distrust that divides us, and the love that grows from small yet meaningful gestures. Taken simply as a narrative, The Last Guardian is a remarkable achievement in minimalist storytelling. Unfortunately, its frustrating mechanics undercut the majority of the experience, interrupting or at points breaking the emotional journey. In a darkened cave, a young boy wakes to find himself in parts unfamiliar, joined only by the gigantic man-eating beast known as Trico. Overcoming his initial fears, he cautiously frees the monster to aid in his escape, but with the creature's wings injured, the two must travel a hostile fortress on foot. With hundreds of mysterious guards prepared to impede their progress, the strangers must learn to trust each other in order to survive their perilous circumstances. While there are brief moments of voice acting and occasional cutscenes, most of The Last Guardian's story is told through in-game actions. The relationship between the child and Trico resembles that of a newly adopted pet, evolving from reluctance and animosity to curiosity and eventually dependence. At first, the pair will instinctively follow one another, if only to avoid danger, but as time goes on, Trico learns to take commands, helping the boy reach higher locations and across dangerous pits. This is where the gameplay problems begin to creep in. Trico's behavior masterfully replicates domesticated wildlife, but this does come at the cost of pacing. By holding down the R1 button, the child is able to instruct Trico towards their next destination, but the creature will frequently become distracted by surroundings, ignoring the ongoing pleas for nearly 30 seconds. During my 12-hour playthrough, there were multiple instances where I recognized the next step, but Trico would already be engaged in a long, unskippable animation. Worse yet, it's often unclear why this is happening. The answers range from the camera's positioning, picking the wrong solution, or intentional AI reactions. And without real communication, moving to the next area feels like a break from irritation rather than satisfaction. Make no mistake, this is a constant issue. Obscurity is the core design of The Last Guardian's puzzles, with players simply wandering around an environment to discover the intended path. This involves climbing up chains and ropes, leaping to higher ground, and flicking switches. These challenges are, at their worst, needlessly obtuse, but there are moments where Trico becomes frightened by a series of glass eye mosaics, requiring the boy to destroy them. These obstacles work well, as they convey a direct objective and a character-related problem to solve. Sadly, all of these sections are hampered by the boy's finicky controls that somehow manage to be delayed and slippery. This becomes aggravating during platforming, where the child will recklessly fling himself to his death. Much of this has to do with the swimmy camera, which miscommunicates the left analog stick's direction. This is a major headache while collecting barrels of food for Trico. Players will need to precisely toss the object towards multiple distant platforms, requiring accurate throws and jumps, neither of which perform well with the stilted input. Playing The Last Guardian isn't about adapting to its system, but overcoming its flaws. It's strange how often the excellent level design is built around shoddy mechanics. These are not small blemishes. This is a game about platforming and cooperation, neither of which work. And yet, it still manages to weave a compelling tale through interaction. One of The Last Guardian's underlying themes is the psychological effects of animal abuse. This is displayed when the opposing soldiers attack Trico. Though their small numbers and slow movement are no match for his claws and size, Trico will continue to slash the remains long after the battle in a fit of feral rage. Only the boy's gentle pets and words of solace will restore him to his docile nature, allowing the child to remove the protruding spears from his body. What's so brilliant about these events are how they emphasize the emotional damage over physical injuries, putting players in the role of consoler and caretaker, endearing Trico to the audience. Trico's design and animation is The Last Guardian's greatest accomplishment, merging the familiar qualities of cats, dogs, and birds. With floppy ears, lush wings, and a furry tail, the creature's trusting gaze is instantly captivating. Despite his mammoth size, his cries for affection are always irresistible. Even when his non-compliance stretches patience, it's a wonder to simply watch him groom himself. And while the boy's character is nearly non-existent, the audience cares because Trico cares. This relationship is perfectly conveyed, creating a parental protectiveness when danger looms, with each crisis handled delicately and never cheapening the player's attachment to their companion, crystallizing in one of the best video game endings of the year. The Last Guardian's art design is fantastic in concept, though more than a few visual hiccups hold it back from its full potential. Breathtaking sun-drenched fields, dizzying tower heights, and crumbling bridges deliver a wondrous sense of place, while the dim caves and torchlit hallways convey the castle's oppressive roots. But during chaotic scenes, the action dips well below its targeted 30 frames per second. While these occurrences are few and far between, they do distract from some of the most important moments in the campaign. So, is it worth it? No. The Last Guardian is so close to being a masterpiece. The characters, world, and narrative are brilliant, some of the best ever seen in a video game. But when simple tasks, such as walking, jumping, and pointing don't function properly, the gameplay becomes a chore. The Last Guardian is a stunning achievement in interactive storytelling, but its unpolished mechanics make it difficult to recommend. The Last Guardian is currently available on the PlayStation 4. If you've had a chance to play it, let me know what you thought, and if you haven't, let me know if you plan on picking it up. My name is Colin Tanner, and I'll see you in the next video.